discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a registered broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Mixed insurance is offered through various independent insurance companies. Cambridge does not offer tax or legal advice.
Welcome to the SA Update. I'm your host, Mike Schuster. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations and timely topics designed to empower our communities and clients. From financial insights to real-life confidence, we're here to help you stay informed, inspired, and ready for what's next. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Scott Snider on the show with me. Scott is the president of the Exit Planning Institute, or EPI, the leading authority on exit planning for business owners and advisors. And Scott himself is a lifelong entrepreneur who started his first business at 17, which I want to hear about that, Scott. Yeah. And he sold it at 24, and then he teamed up with his dad, Chris Snider, to acquire EPI. So Scott is all about helping business owners build their companies and planning smart for exits for tomorrow. And he lives it. It's his passion. I've been there. I've listened to his podcast. They do an excellent job, and I'm really honored to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you for thinking of me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Scott, we were talking about this before when I got the designation, the Certified Exit Planning Advisor designation. And when I turned age 50, I thought, well, what else am I going to do next? And I thought about being a business owner. How can I help my fellow business owners? Because isn't it around like 30%? It's 30% that do not have, or that actually go to market and sell their business. Correct, Scott? That's the number.
30%. Only 30% are successful. And then when you look at internal transitions, if you the common run is that they get worse and worse as you transition through the generations. And so, yeah, generally I think that it all stems back to a business owner thinking that, we've grown a really successful company over the years, and I'm going to give this to my son or daughter, or I want to take this business to market, and because I'm successful, therefore I should be highly valuable, and we should be ready to rock. And what they come to find is that though they have something that has produced a lot of income, served a lot of great customers, employed a lot of great employees, that it didn't necessarily translate directly to a highly valuable or best-in-class business. And that what we say at EPI is that our certified exit planning advisors help business owners go from a very successful year-over-year business to a long-term significant one by creating a highly valuable, ready, and attractive business that is aligned to the business owner's business, personal, and financial goals.
Scott, I'm a Air Force veteran myself, and I did medical readiness training and operations in the Air Force. And this is a stat that really gets me. And you'll have to correct me. It's over 80% of business owners do not have a contingency plan or a readiness plan in their business. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, when we think about that, it really grows across all three legs of their stool. I think before we even go there, I appreciate your service to our country. My son is 12, and he's super into the Air Force right now, so we might have another Air Force person coming to the family. So
that's awesome.
But anyways, when you look at contingency planning and all of that in an EPI world, we look at contingency planning, risk planning across all three legs of the stool, right? And regardless if you're looking at business, personal, or financial, you find that business owners aren't really planning for some of the risks that they're taking or for some of the unknowns. It's something like 50% of the privately held companies in America are transitioned not on the owner's terms. And so we call these the 5Ds, the destroyers of companies. It could be because of a partner dispute, a death in the family, a disagreement that's happening. You're forced out of your business. So that's one contingency planning. They don't really have any contingency planning around life, like I would say personal life, and then financial planning. So they don't have wills and trusts. They don't have estate planning. It's one of the stats that really stands out in our most recent State of Owner Readiness survey is that though business owners are more successful in exit than they've ever been, the two things that really stand out for me are only about 28% of them were indicating that they have an estate plan, and something like 24% of them were indicating that they had a will. And so that's still pretty poor planning in those very critical areas.
Absolutely. And every business, no matter the size, should have that, especially any business with employees should have it. It was interesting yesterday. This all came to, I knew you were on my schedule for today,
Yeah.
and I'm driving yesterday down the highway, and this car pulls out right in front of me, and I had to go all the way over to the side. And as I came back, I told some of my younger advisors that we just became a partnership. I said, well, good thing we've done all this planning, because you just never know when these things are going to happen. So one thing I really like about EPI and what you and your father have done is your value acceleration methodology. And you give a process. So talk a little bit about that, because it's not just about the exit itself. It's about improving the current business.
No doubt. I would say that it presents a business owner with a new way of thinking about life and business. And so, and another thing you might hear, like another buzz phrase, if you will, that we like to use is that exit strategy is business strategy. There's really nothing different. Is that as business owners, we're doing things in our life and business that eventually, every day, that eventually affect the eventual successful or significant exit that we might have. And so, yeah, in my opinion, when you look at, say, the business side of things, is we look across things that are called the four intangible capital. So we're looking at structural capital, the how-to, the process, the standard operating procedure. We're looking at human capital, the people within your company. We're looking at your social capital, your culture, and then we're looking at customer capital, all of your customers. And kind of to your opening story, I always love when I'm sitting with a business owner and they say, Scott, I'm the best salesperson in our company. And I go, that might make you a really successful company, but it certainly doesn't make you a significant one. Why? Because if you were to get hit by that car when you went inside of that ditch and you weren't with us anymore, would those customers stay because they're loyal to the brand and the service and the people, or were they actually loyal to you? What's funny is I always picture the Tommy Boy movie
Yeah.
where you remember Callahan Auto Parts.
Yep.
And Big Tom Callahan passes away from a heart attack suddenly at his wedding, and his son is kind of thrust into this, making this all happen. And he's literally sitting at people's desks, buyers' desks, and said, "Look, I did business with your dad, but you're not your dad, so we're done. And
Yep.
so we're not going to buy brake pads from you." And but that's a very, I think that is a funny movie and maybe an extreme scenario. But in life, are our customers tied to us, or are they tied to the business? So yeah, we always say that by looking at something like the four intangible capitals, you'll drive better customer relationships, you'll drive net profits up, you'll have people that are loyal to your business well beyond you, you'll have a culture that they like to live in. So not only does your net profit of your company go up, but it makes you a stronger, more valuable company. So on the other side of the equation, your multiple goes up. So it's like a compound double whammy turn on value. You have more profit selling for higher multiples. And then around that out for you is you certainly have the personal planning and the personal financial planning. I don't think we hear it enough as business owners. I think what we do hear a lot is, for me, my advisors are always saying, Scott, we got to keep pulling you out of the business, right? You got to stop working in the business and work on the business. They're
Yep.
talking about value creation. But what you don't hear is that they don't necessarily say, "Hey, Scott, we have to have you stop just living in your life and start working on your life. Where do you want to be in 10 years? What does that look like? How is your wealth powering all the stuff that you want to do?" And tie that all together.
Yeah.
And
The
so
biggest,
again, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the biggest thing I talk to my business owner clients about is basically this. I mean, you've got three people depending on you, and that's number one, your customers. Number two, your existing employees, and then number three, your family. And you talked about the personal side of this too, and that's a great analogy on that piece of things, because this is why exit planning is so important from that standpoint. You talked a little bit about the methodology, and what's the real two biggest things you think, or three biggest things every business owner should do or are cornerstone in their businesses right now? I've always wanted to ask you that question, just to kind of keep it simple and break it down to first principles.
I would say your foundational principles. Number one, we have to understand how to change our mindset. We got to go from income generation to value creation. So it's just a shift, and it's a difficult one because I think for the most part, we're trained to run very successful companies, strong P&L, strong balance sheets, great customers, great employees, but we don't tie it to value. So we have to shift our mindset from income generation to value creation. The second thing that I would say as a cornerstone is we should know what our business is worth. We should know it
Yep.
every single year. We should be, just like we would go to the doctor to do a health check, we should do a business valuation check. So we understand where we lie on the range of value and where we're going to. And then two, I think personal planning. Talk about where we're going to. I think many owners who are selling their companies are running away from something. They're not running towards something. And so they say, look, I need to exit my company. I'm 67 years old. I want to slow down a little bit. I think I might want to buy a lake house. I think I might want to play golf. And they're kind of walking that way, but they're not
Yep.
running towards something like they ran towards their business. So it's really a combination of what's my business worth, changing my mindset, and understanding how what I want to do in the next phases or acts
Yeah.
of my life.
So what percentage of net worth is most businesses of the
Massive.
business owners? I've read different stats on this.
Yeah. So it's typically about 80 to 90% of a business owner's net worth. It's
Wow.
tied up inside of their business, right? It's their, and again, it's a big change of mindset from saying this is an operating entity doing X, Y, or Z product or service to it is an operating entity that is also a largest financial asset inside of my financial portfolio. In
Yes.
order to power my life in the next phases of life, I need to harvest the value from this asset. Because honestly, business owners don't have 401k programs, right? What they have is their business. That's my retirement. Like, yeah, do I personally have a 401k program? Of course, I have some type of retirement plan. But really, where I make my dreams come true is being able to harvest the value from my asset, so I can go do the other things that I have passions for.
Yeah, and truth be told, a lot of these business owners, you probably would agree with this, owning and operating their own business is the way they built their wealth, and that's the fastest way to build your wealth, right?
No doubt about it, 100%.
Okay. Well, Scott, I know you're a busy man, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at your annual conference this year in Tennessee. But before you go, I have to ask you, besides your own podcast, I always ask people, what's your favorite podcast? What podcast do you listen to?
So, oh man, there's a bunch. So there's a couple of people that I would throw out there for you guys to follow that are top of mind for me. One is Tommy Breedlove. Tommy Breedlove has a book and a podcast around living legendary. So it's really about personal planning. So I'm very into personal planning. The next would be a gentleman named Ben Utek. Ben's kind of cool outside of the business world. He actually won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning.
Oh.
So Ben Utek was coached by Tony Dungy, and I'm also a big culture guy. Like we're right now at EPI, we have 52 people. We're trying to grow to 100 people here at EPI. My biggest worry that keeps me up at night is how do I scale people and culture? Ben has a book that actually documents culture and makes it a measurable tool, which he calls a culture creed. And so in a book called the Champions Creed, and so with an associated podcast. And so those would be the top two people that come to mind for me. Those are the ones I'm following right now.
That is excellent. That is excellent. Well, Scott, thank you again for being a guest. I know you're a really busy guy. And again, looking forward to seeing you at your annual conference. And again, if anybody needs more information on exit strategy planning, give us a call at the office. So thanks again, Scott.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.